Yeah, but yeah, you mentioned Dalen Swain in Texas. I think this is a good segue into our next thing we're going to talk about regarding breakout teams. Texas is a team that I have as a potential breakout squad this upcoming season. I have a lot of faith in Sean Miller. I think he's a really good coach. And I definitely think Texas has a chance to be a lot better than what people might be giving them credit for going into the season. You mentioned Dalen Swain. I think he's going to break out, have a big year. But they're also retaining some guys like Jordan Pope and Chenna Weaver. I think those guys both have chances to be better than what they were this past year, maybe break out a little bit. You also got Tremont Mark and Matis. I forget how to say his name fully, but
Oh, I know you're referring
from
to.
FAU. Yeah, he'll I think be pretty solid for Texas this upcoming year in the SEC. Now, by no means do I think Texas will be competing for an SEC tournament title nor regular season title, but they definitely can make the tournament. When a lot of people I think right now might have them on the bubble, I think they do have a chance to be in without the bubble. And yeah, no first four this year. I really do think Sean Miller is going to bring a new energy to Texas this year, and I definitely think they could be one of the teams that we see break out.
Good point. I think my almost surprise tournament team is Notre Dame. This is mostly because of Marcus Burden. He's a 20-point per game guy who was completely off the radar. It's just because Notre Dame hasn't been doing well, but Mika Shrewsbury has been up to something again. I gotta hope that something works for him. I think he is still a very good coach, and Shrewsbury kind of is starting to get into his groove. I thought last year was a little bit of an improvement from the year before, and I think this is the season that they will have that will launch them into, at a minimum, a bubble team. I really do think that we could be seeing particularly for Marcus Burden, a All American year, or at least an All First ACC year for him. And Notre Dame should be on, I think, a couple people's radars right now with a great potential, especially in a soon to be loaded ACC. I feel.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. I definitely think Marcus Burton has a chance to be potentially an All American this year. We'll see what ends up happening with that. But my next breakout team is Iowa. I know it's a very popular pick among people who cover college basketball, but I mean, I just have a lot of faith in what Iowa has a chance to do next year with both Bennett Sturts and the likes of all the Drake transfers which are coming over. On top of that, you have Brendan Housen, who's also going to fill a spot in the backcourt, and between both Sturts and Housen, I mean that's just incredible shooting you're getting out of your one and your two there. Bennett Sturts' shot making is really video game like. I mean, from what we saw in the tournament this past year and what he did at Drake the entire season, and I really do think that these Drake guys do have a chance to be really good at the high major level. Of course, you got to wait and see till we actually see them play. But I have a lot of faith in what Iowa's going to be able to do this year.
Yeah, Sturts, I will say, could be a top five player in college basketball
Yeah,
next
I
year.
mean,
He's
there's
getting
definitely the chance for that.
so many comps. Like I'm very happy to see him play, not just in the Big Ten, but in main Power Five ball. Another big team that I think could really leap up in the standings is Georgia. We covered Kenny Catchings, obviously, Nye's point, but I think that even with the loss of Silas Damari and Asa Newell, Georgia does manage to get back into a very similar, if not even better place in a way. The team really does seem to be a little bit more structured than originally thought, and I would highly recommend going on to the ESPN um, like college basketball section, checking out the transfer portal rosters or just overall rosters because we were just looking at them as well, and they were surprising. I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't really know Georgia was going to be a team that would have made the tournament, but the Kenny Catchings talk is definitely getting my eye, and I'm living off of what Kanaye is saying, and I'm putting Georgia in as not a bubble team, but more or less what are you thinking with Texas as a team that can probably be like that 8, 9 seed and likely a fifth or sixth best team in the SEC next year.
Yeah, I most definitely think Georgia's going to be a tournament team between Catchings and Jordan Ross. I think both those guys are going to have big years for them.
Jordan Ross is the big one as well.
Yeah. Definitely a guy who could have been on both of our breakout players lists, and I actually did have him on my underrated transfers list video, which we put out a while back. But my next breakout team is Providence. I know not a great year they had this past season. Granted, they did not have Bryce Hopkins; only had him for 3 games actually. And of course, they are losing. They are losing Jaden Pierre, which obviously hurts him being their leading scorer and kind of program guy last few years. But I gotta say, they have one of the most under talked about successful portal cycles in the country. I mean, just it really is kind of strange to see how little that their transfer acquisitions have been talked about. I mean, they got some really good guys between Jason Edwards, who was the leading scorer on the Vanderbilt team that was really good this past year. Jalen Sellers coming over from UCF, who definitely has a chance to take a leap, as well as along with Daquan Davis, who's coming over from FSU. Duncan Powell, I think, is going to bring a really cool dimension to this Friars roster. I think you also got to consider that they're bringing in their first 5-star since Chris Dunn and Jameer Jones, who I think has a really big chance to potentially be the Big East Freshman of the Year. I'm really, really high on Jameer Jones. I think he's going to be a really good player out in Friartown for Kim English this year. And let's be honest here, Kim English needs a good season with the Friars this year. Just considering, I think he had a really solid first year. Of course, injuries have kind of killed Kim English's teams in his first 2 seasons out in Friartown, but I really do like what the Friars have done in this offseason between the portal and what they're bringing in freshman wise. And they also got guys like Ryan Meal who have a chance to also break out too. So I'm excited to see how they play this year.
Yeah, Providence is a good one. I'm honestly going to introduce to the other Big East team that we were both talking about, and that is Georgetown. I think they're in a very, very similar boat. I get it, losing Thomas Sorber to the draft is a big loss, but the pickups they've gotten and keeping guys like PV has been huge. I think Ed Cooley is ready to make that leap that he needs to make. Like the ACC, the Big East is going to be a little bit more loaded than they were last year. Probably a lot more loaded, I feel. And there's really no third spot that's been taken right now in the Big East. I've mentioned before how St. John's and UConn are probably 1 and 2 apiece. But that 3 spot, that's where Providence could be. That's where I guess Georgetown can be as well. And I feel like something has to happen for Cooley. And I think that this is likely going to be that year that things start to get going out in DC.
Yeah, I love that Georgetown pick a lot. I definitely think Ed Cooley's too good of a coach for Georgetown to not kind of be on the rise back to being one of the better programs across the country. They should be there as Georgetown. It's in due time that they will get there. My next pick though is K State to break out. Like you talked about with Abdi Bashir Jr., I think he's going to be awesome at K State. I also love what they've added in the portal besides him. They got in Tyreek Smith from Memphis, who I think has a chance to be, break out a little bit, just considering he's playing with the likes of PJ Haggerty, who, by the way, has been rumored to be in the running to go to K State. And if they get him, then I mean, I think my pick here makes even more sense. But on top of that, they got Nate Johnson from Akron, who was really good this past year for them. While they did lose some guys like Doug McDaniel in the portal, I think they've been Brendan Housen, who I just mentioned with going to Iowa. I think Bashir is going to make up for a lot of that to get Haggerty even more so. And a guy who me and Josh were talking about yesterday who just committed there, Marcus Johnson coming from Bowling Green. Big man. Really, really unique game. Definitely gives me DJ Burns type vibes. But let me tell you, if K-State has any large success this year, this guy's going to be a national treasure, fan favorite across the country. I mean, that guy, he's big man, definitely a larger build than what we're used to seeing in college basketball, but he has a bag. He definitely does have a bag. He can step out, hit the three, do some stuff in the post, hit some tough faders. I'm really excited to see K-State this year. I think they definitely have a chance to be really, really good.
Didn't he drop like 30 against Michigan State?
Yeah, he did. He was awesome against Michigan
That's
State.
that's some big stuff to talk about. This is a guy
Yeah.
that can really under the radar.
Yeah, Kohler was having a tough time having to hold it down against Marcus Johnson.
This is playing at Bowling Green too, so
Right.
definitely a big upgrade for K State. Another team that I think is being highlighted but could be a little bit more pushed is the new Miami squad run by Jay Lucas, who I think could be the new freshman coach of the year. I think the team he's building is so interesting. It's definitely super nice to see him bring in these portal pickups. Um, I think, what was it? He's from IU. It's not Mackenzie Mbako. Unfortunately.
What was the team? The
He transferred from IU.
oh
Oh, I'm forgetting him. But he's gonna be I think could have a really big role. He actually lives in Miami too. This is his hometown, so there's a great spot for him to play.
oh
He
and
was
it was it Mbako?
no, Mbako's going to Texas A&M.
Oh right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I think Lucas is really growing a surprisingly good squad considering how horrible Miami was last year. I do think that they can and probably will make the tournament this year, so keep them in mind. And I think they might be a little bit better than people think they're going to be. Maybe not, super good, but a 7 or 8 seed is pretty much
Malik
also
Renew.
hmm?
Malik Renew.
Oh yes, Malik Renew. I think Malik Renew can be a pretty like 20 point per game type of guy if things really turn out in his
Trey
favor.
Donaldson, I think, could light it up too.
Donaldson's a good one as well. I think, like I said before, Lucas is surprisingly good at finding good transfer portal pieces. I don't know if it's going to work out exactly, but they've already convinced me, and they're turning heads. So I'd like to see Miami back in the tournament, which would be really nice considering the retirement of a previous coach who's been pretty much everything Miami's known about college basketball.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I love the way that Hurricanes roster is shaping out going to next year. Great job that they've done in the portal. Another team that I think honestly has done a really solid job in the portal, maybe isn't talked about enough, is Oklahoma, who I have as my last breakout team. They've quietly added four-star transfers. Those guys being Xavier Brown coming from St. Joe's, Darren Reed come from Alabama, who I think has a really, really big chance to break out this year. Nigel Pack coming over from Miami, who we just talked about, and Tay Davis coming over from Notre Dame. So those guys all have chances to step into larger roles and be really important pieces for the Sooners program this year. And hey, they made the tournament this year. They definitely have a lot to replace, just considering they lost Fears to the draft, who was really dynamic, one of the most fun players to watch across the country this year, especially freshman wise. But yeah, I mean, I think they've had solid pieces that they've added in the portal, and I definitely think they have a chance to run it back and maybe make the tournament again.
I think they should, if you're going to ask me.
Yeah, I also am in the boat. I definitely think Oklahoma should be a tournament team this year in the SEC.
And my last one is a little bit of an outside place, and that's UNLV. And I'm elevating this non-Power 5 team because I honestly think that the way the roster has been shaped in the wake of guys like D. Thomas leaving has made them a front runner in the Mountain West, which is still a very good conference and arguably a place for them to be ranked later on in the season. And this is mostly due to my viewpoint on Miles Che. He was one of the leading scorers at UC Irvine, a team that I thought could have and probably should have been chosen for that first four last year. He arguably looked like a Power 5 transfer. I honestly thought he would have been great at a Big 12 or Big 10 school, but him going and making himself probably the head honcho at UNLV makes him an insanely good pickup piece for a school like him. And I think that whatever's going on in the desert of Nevada is looking really, really good.